Morning, Guelph. My name is Mark Peralivas, and that rhymes with for all of us, and I'm the People's Party candidate for the Guelph riding. And I'm going to do a three-part series, probably, on housing in Guelph. I'm going to look at homelessness because there's been a lot of information on homelessness as well as federal money spent in our county on homelessness, and I want to look at how we're spending that, etc. But first I want to talk about home affordability. Okay, and this is a Mercury Tribune article that was published on February 21st, and I'm reading this just to show you what the current state of rental is like in Guelph, and purchase as well, what the current inventory of houses are, to rent and to buy, and there aren't many, I'll tell you that. Here's the article. It says, quote, lack of housing in Guelph. In Guelph, there's a serious lack of housing stock across all income levels, from market rentals to affordable and social housing to supportive housing. In October, the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation reported the vacancy rate in the city at 1.4%, one of the lowest in the province. 3% is generally considered a healthy rate. And I scroll down a little bit. The low vacancy rate creates intense competition, which drives up the cost of rent, making it even harder to find a place to live. Around 41% of tenant households in Guelph are spending more than 30% of their household income on shelter costs, on housing, right? On rent or taxes or whatever. I wanted to show you this as well. Here's the Guelph real estate trends. The Guelph housing prices, current, okay, so that's April 11th to May 9th. We're on May 13th now, so the average sold price is $576,000 in Guelph. That's up monthly 8.7%, quarterly 12%, and yearly 8.3%. What does that look like? That looks like prices are going up. This is for a detached home in Guelph. A 2-bedroom detached home is selling for around $620,000. A 3-bedroom is $651,000. A 4-bedroom is $896,000, and a 5-bedroom is $777,000. It's incredible that a 5-bedroom is cheaper than a 4-bedroom. So the costs are going up 3% at least year over year, and that's just cumulative, and that's detached. So we can look at condos as well and townhouses. So a townhouse is $484,000, and that's up 10% from last year, which is incredibly high. That is very high. So what's happening? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Part of the reason this is happening is complete inaction from the federal government on money laundering throughout the entire country. And I'm going to show you why I think that. The CBC News is reporting on March 21st of 2019, quote, criminals hiding billions of dollars in GTA real estate watchdog claims. Transparency International Canada claims in a new report that criminals are, quote, snowwashing billions of dollars through anonymous purchases of luxury homes in the GTA. What does that mean? Quote, bring your dirty money to Canada and it will be cleaned like the pure white snow, explains James Cohen of Transparency International. The anti-corruption group, along with Canadians for Tax Fairness and Publish What You Pay Canada, presented their report on the risks of widespread money laundering at a news conference at Queen's Park on Thursday. The report authors looked at some 1.4 million residential property transactions dating back to 2008. Among the group's chief concerns is that privately owned corporations have spent $28.4 billion on luxury residential homes, those worth between 7 to 10 million over that time frame, and didn't provide information about their beneficial owners. Those companies also appear to have paid $9.8 billion in cash for homes, something that could allow them to dodge the scrutiny of financial institutions. When they did require mortgages, half of the borrowing done by corporations was through unregistered lenders that are not subject to anti-money laundering provisions, Transparency found. I scroll down a little bit. Report author Adam Ross noted that the Toronto housing market has ranked among the least affordable in the world, with rental properties in short supply and buying a home in the city out of reach of many. Quote, dirty money exacerbates this affordability crisis by adding extra demand from buyers who have a perverse incentive to overpay for properties in order to wash more dirty money through a transaction, said Ross. None of us want to live next door to a criminal or to a property that sits empty and unmaintained. Ontario's previous Liberal government brought in a foreign buyers tax in 2017 and instituted audits to discourage speculation. However, it's unclear if that's cutting down on the activity. Ross says lax enforcement of suspected money laundering has encouraged criminals to come here, as such cases rarely go to trial and are often settled out of court if they do. So it's interesting. There are criminals bringing money into the Toronto housing market, says the CBC. Here's an updated report from May 10th from the Calgary Herald. Quote, easy as pie, why criminals look to Canadian real estate to launder their money. Yeah. News that some $5 billion was laundered through British Columbia's real estate market in 2018 comes as no surprise to experts, as Canada's weak money laundering laws make it an attractive spot to park ill-gotten cash. I scroll down. With some of the weakest money laundering laws among liberal democracies, Canada stands out as a place to launder cash, said Comeau, a retired lawyer and member of Transparency International, Canada's working group on beneficial ownership transparency. Houses, mansions, and whole floors worth of condominiums can act as a kind of bank account in bricks and mortar form, with the purchase made by a numbered corporation, incorporated in Canada by an offshore lawyer, and owned by layers of shell companies in various tax havens. Quote, "It's easy as pie," said Comeau. "You can do it in about 5 minutes, and you don't have to disclose anything." International money launderers typically leave properties vacant, driving up real estate prices and hollowing out neighborhoods, said Gary Clement, a former national director of the RCMP's Proceeds of Crime program. Renting the property out would involve a check or email transfer, which usually necessitates an account at a Canadian bank for the receiver and leaves them exposed to anti-money laundering screens. Quote, "For organized crime lords, $5 million is pocket change," Clement said, noting the lack of incentive for rental income. The property ownership timeline is typically medium to long term rather than the quick cash turnarounds available through casinos and luxury car purchases, he said. Most of that is for parking money. Last year, some $7.4 billion overall was laundered in BC out of a total of $47 billion across Canada, according to Thursday's report by an expert panel led by former BC Deputy Attorney General Maureen Maloney. Quote, "But Ontario is notorious for being a money laundering front," Clement said, adding that other provinces are far from immune. Right. So it's not just BC and it's not just Toronto, it's the whole province. Here's why our money laundering laws are so soft. Here's just an example of what happened. This is Global News reporting. Crown mistakenly exposed police informant killing massive BC money laundering probe. So this was a big deal, and it was a big probe that just collapsed for no good reason at all. It's an interesting story in and of itself. I covered it when it happened, but here we go. A massive RCMP investigation of alleged underground bankers in Richmond, BC, estimated to be laundering over $1 billion per year, collapsed in November because federal prosecutors mistakenly exposed the identity of a police informant who they feared could have been killed if the case proceeded, Global News had learned. The so-called e-pirate investigation started in 2015 and targeted Richmond Hill-based Silver International, an alleged illegal money services business. The investigation culminated in a series of undercover raids in October 2015. RCMP said they seized the millions in cash, as well as BC Lottery Corporation casino chips from Silver's office in a Richmond business complex, plus computers, cell phones, and digital evidence containing tens of thousands of documents from Silver's office and other locations. Federal prosecutors laid charges in September 2017. The allegations have not been proven in court. After lengthy preliminary proceedings in BC's provincial court and the Supreme Court of Canada, the case was scheduled to go to trial in January 2019. But for reasons they refused to explain, federal prosecutors and the RCMP stayed the charges against Silver and his co-accused, the Vancouver couple that allegedly ran the operation. It was believed to be the largest money laundering probe in Canadian history and a crucial prosecution for BC that sources say has failed because of weakness in Canadian law enforcement, including the inadvertent disclosure of information that could have endangered a hidden informant cooperating to help the RCMP break the case. Silver took in about $1.5 million in criminal cash deposits per day and distributed funds to about 600 bank accounts in China, as well as using cash from Vancouver drug dealers and casino loan sharks to fund Chinese high rollers in BC casinos, the RCMP investigation alleged. But according to new information in a case study of the e-pirate investigation by the Financial Action Task Force, an international government body that sets anti-money laundering standards, it is now estimated the alleged professional laundering network washed over $1 billion per year. One component of the network's alleged operation was using legal and illegal casinos to help gamblers from China move money to and from Canada, and in some cases cash out chips for a BC casino check to deposit into Canadian banks and buy Vancouver real estate, the FATF report says. Yeah, and it's actually a whole method. Here's an old trick with a new look, the Vancouver model of money laundering, and there's 2 reports I've got for you to read. I'm not going to read them because I've got other things to get to in this video, and it's already long enough. But this money laundering is a model that they are following to a T, and it works. And the problem with it is it's pushing up cost of property and reducing the amount of available property. If you buy a condo and you're a money launderer, it's easier, as we just heard, to leave it empty than it is to figure out a rental agreement, right? So one less condo that's supposed to be part of the inventory for housing in the city, wherever it is, Toronto or Guelph or wherever. And if it's purchased by a money launderer, which is seeming increasingly likely because prices of these properties is getting out of reach for most Canadians, right? And that's a problem. So this is happening, and it needs to be addressed. It needs to be talked about at least, and it's not being talked about. Not in the way that needs to, not in the way that leads to the problem being solved. And we're going to look at what the Liberals want to do to solve this problem. Throw money at it is what they want to do to solve the problem. Back to this. The criminals would love that as well, but here's the Global News reporting. Quote, not just BC. Most provinces in Canada fail to secure convictions in money laundering cases. Yeah, Canada largely fails to successfully convict money launderers, with almost 3/4 of people accused going free. That's 75%, a Global News investigation has found. From 2000 to 2016, and I'll note here, everyone, that's Liberals and Conservatives in power, right? From 2000 to 2016, we had both. And still nothing has been started to stop this problem. Canada recorded 321 guilty verdicts in money laundering cases, according to an analysis of data provided by Statistics Canada. Another roughly 809 cases were either stayed, withdrawn, or dismissed, according to the data, resulting in a conviction rate of around 27%. That's far fewer than other crimes, as roughly 63% of all adult criminal court cases in 2017 resulted in a guilty verdict. Quote, it's scandalous, said forensic accountant Matt McGuire, who previously worked for Fintrack, Canada's watchdog against money laundering. It's quite clear the system isn't working. It's mind-boggling. The data comes amid growing calls for an inquiry into money laundering and organized crime in BC, but the new numbers show it's a problem touching every province. McGuire, co-founder of the AML shop in Toronto, said Canada's reputation as a stable financial system, coupled with investigators that are unwilling or lack resources to prosecute complex financial crimes, has turned Canada into a utopia for money launderers. The UK and the US have been far more successful in prosecuting money launderers between 1999 and 2007. There were 7,569 money laundering prosecutions in the United Kingdom, resulting in 3,796 convictions, roughly a 50% conviction rate. That's twice our conviction rate, by the way. The most recent data available from the U.S. Department of Justice shows that in 2015, 727 people were prosecuted for money laundering, with 615 being convicted, a rate of 85%. That's 3 times our conviction rate. Incredible, right? And disgusting. We should have people not gleefully laundering money through our real estate markets and casinos, right? You can't do that. I can't do that. So why are we allowing giant professional money laundering corporations to inflate our real estate prices? It's incredible. And it's happening year over year over year. Back to the article. Global News reveals in BC, police believe as much as $5 billion could have been laundered in Vancouver's real estate market since 2012, which has distorted housing prices and helped fuel the opiate crisis. I scroll down further. However, the FATF report notes that while roughly 149,000 possession of crime-related cases entered the court system between 2010 and 2014, resulted in a conviction rate of almost 70%, most of the defendants were convicted of the predicate offenses, meaning convictions for drug offenses rather than money laundering. Canada does not pursue money laundering charges sufficiently, the report said. The reasons provided for withdrawal of the money laundering charges include insufficient evidence, the lack of public interest in the pursuit of the charges, the avoidance of overcharging, as well as repackaging of charging and plea bargaining. I scroll down a little bit. Fintrack, which has the power to impose fines for money laundering cases, rarely does. Since 2008, it has administered 95 monetary penalties totaling $3,535,550. Do you remember the guy who was making $1.5 million a day in laundering money through casinos and real estate in BC? $1.5 million a day. Fintrack has recovered $3 million. How long has this inefficient system been running? At least a decade. Seriously? Seriously? Why are we putting money into this? If they can't pay for themselves, what is going on? Wow. Scroll down. Canada's weak laws that allow hidden ownership of real estate and trial time limits also make it extremely difficult to prosecute financial crime. I scroll down again. In January, BC Attorney General David Eby demanded more resources from Ottawa to deal with the problem, leading to a pledge from Federal Minister of Border Security and Organized Crime Reduction, Bill Blair, to improve how information is shared among law enforcement agencies across the country. On Friday, Eby told Guelph News the public wants to see an inquiry to examine how billions have been laundered through casinos and housing markets. Yeah, and Bill Blair's words are not nearly good enough. I want you to get a sense of renting in Guelph. My brother has to rent in Guelph, and it's expensive. It's very expensive. If you don't know somebody, you're looking at over $1,000 for 1 bed, 1 bath on Silver Creek, which is incredibly high. When I was renting 10 years ago, and I'm sorting low to high here, and I'm not searching I just went to renting in Guelph, so maybe you've seen a lower rent. If you have, please forward it to me. I have not, but I haven't been searching, so I don't know. But this seems really high. It seems incredibly, prohibitively high to be talking about solving a housing crisis when there is no inventory, right? And the same is true in the housing for sale market, right? $264,000 mortgage on a condo plus condo fees plus taxes. Well, that's a lot of money. That's quite a lot of money. Even that at 20 years old making $40,000. And if you're 20 years old making $40,000, good job for getting a great job and being right on it, right? Because most people at 20 years old aren't making $40,000. This would be hard to afford, right? Doing that, if you're perfect, would be hard to afford. And that's not how things should be. That's not how things should be. And part of the problem is the inability of our government to hold people accountable for money laundering, inflating our real estate market and sitting and doing nothing. And what do they want to do to fix this problem, this affordability problem, this inventory problem? They want to throw money at it. They want to let you take money out of your RRSPs that you've saved for retirement to buy a house. This is incredible. It doesn't make any sense. Here's the National Post reporting. Liberals offer modest help for first-time home buyers. Eligible buyers would see the government pick up part of their cost for mortgages to lower their monthly payments, with the amount of help determined by their income and whether they're buying existing or newly built homes. The government also plans to raise the maximum amount a first-time buyer can withdraw from an RRSP, $35,000, up from $25,000. Have you saved $35,000 into your RRSP? And while the program has long been restricted to new would-be homeowners, those who are recovering from the breakup of a marriage or common law relationship would also be allowed to take part. I scroll down. The government would recoup its costs when the house is sold, although the budget document isn't clear what would happen if the house is sold for a loss. Couldn't contemplate that, not in today's Canada. Back to the article. What the measures should do is increase supply, one of the measure's stated goals. The government plans to cover 5% of the cost of the purchase of an existing home and 10% of a new build, hoping to, quote, encourage the home construction needed to address some of the housing supply shortages across the country, the budget document says. And, I mean, having an incentive like dropping your monthly bill, right, your monthly mortgage bill or whatever, by a couple of $100s, which the Liberals say this does, stimulates housing purchase, which is something the Liberals, the provincial Liberals across the country have been trying to stop because of the massive buying sprees that have been going on across Ontario and across other provinces that then sit empty and reduce the amount of inventory of the homes, right? So it's a lot of foreign buyers, and I don't know what the ratios are in Guelph of foreign buyers or houses that sit empty or condos that sit empty. I don't have the numbers in front of me that show that. But what I'm saying is this is happening provably across our country. And to think that it's not happening in Guelph affecting our inventory and our rent and our purchase rates, I think is putting your head in the sand and not looking at the reality of things. We need people who are able to have these real difficult conversations, bring these things up to the leaders and say, this is the problem. Here's the problem. We need to fix this problem. We have the tools, or we should have the tools. And if we don't have the tools, why are the Liberals spending time and money to change criminal code, to reclassify criminal code things to summary charges? That means something that used to require court now can be negotiated out of court for a criminal fee, right? For a fine. They did that for in the 2018 budget bill. Why are they changing the laws that way and not tightening up the laws that should be tightened up to actually help people on the ground and reduce these prices and make sure that it becomes affordable for people, or we can grow our economy to the point where this becomes affordable? But I mean, my goodness, it's a lot of money for a 1-bed, 1-bath, 600 square foot condo. How much are the condo fees on that? Thank you for watching, everybody. I realize this is a long one. My goodness, longer than I anticipated. But check out the People's Party of Canada. Check out ppcguelph.ca. And my name is Mark for all of us. That rhymes with for all of us. And I'm willing to be curious. I'm willing to be wrong. I'm willing to ask the hard questions. Send me to Ottawa. I'm willing to do that to the Prime Minister, too. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.